There's a reason why I tell people it's always two sides to a story, no matter what it is. And one of the interesting things in my life that people like to bring up is the fact that I'm barred from filing lawsuits in federal court. And I smile about it because if you read the newspaper and just follow the media, you get a part of a story, but you don't get the full story. That was meant to protect corrupt politicians and public officials. That was what it was all about. So this is the story that most wouldn't know, but you should. So this judge, I'm going back and forth, back and forth. I'm in Danville. Now, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. considers Danville the most racist city he has ever been to in America. And the thing is, Dr. King may have lived out the racial part. I was living out knowledge is power part. When you become more open-minded and more aware of what's going on around you, and at the time I'm going to Norfolk State, I'm taking a bunch of pre-law classes, stuff like that. So I'm learning so much about government, so much. So when I get back in town, I'm like, okay, there's certain things that should be going on, and it's not going on here. And there's certain issues that's happening that's not making no sense. So my experience was going to places where people was very unqualified from my educational level to be where they was at. And to be honest, there was two sides of the story. I thought they got where they was at because of who they knew. The other side would be probably some love fest was going on, and that's why they're there, because they're brain dead to their job. That's the truth. That's the truth of it. But to spin it back, what led to being barred, there was this case I was working on. And what happened is, you're going to check the history out on this whole thing, and you're going to say everything Merle Rutledge said was true. So, me and the Danville Police Department going back and forth. I'm beating their Commonwealth attorneys. Now, mind you, these are traffic tickets. This is not even a big deal. But they were so hell-bent on the fact I kept winning that they'll have, I'm talking about, the Commonwealth attorney's desk would be full of attorneys if I was in that courtroom. Because I would say something that would just boggle everybody's mind. And I would win. And I would brag about it. Because I was like, y'all coming after me. I'm going to make sure I do my best to win, because at this point, we don't like each other. I'm trying to help the area while I got these bloodsuckers of politicians bleeding everybody. I'm talking about high electricity bills now y'all have. In that area, $500 electricity bill ain't nothing. They don't use Virginia Dominion Power. They use where they buy their electricity, that type of thing. So, long story short, the judge had a lot of his personal friends that was implicated in felonies, meaning flat out. The FBI, you can follow this trail too. You ask the FBI, who was I going after at that time? And how many referrals did they give to the governor of Virginia during those times? Investigate this, investigate that. And they want to sign off. Now, these are Democratic. This is when I find out how powerful Democrats are and how corrupt they are, because I was from a time where you black, you're a Democrat. You know what I'm saying? That's the truth of it. You know, once you become more aware and open-minded, you start seeing these political parties for what they are, bloodsuckers. So I'm having judges, prosecutors, all these people name how they are tied to each other. I'm talking about information that came from a FOIA request I did. I just so happened to read everything. They sent me a bunch of paperwork to my FOIAs. And I guess they thought, he ain't gonna read none of this stuff. I read something up inside there that will let me know I can now connect the dots, because you don't realize. And I'm looking at this paperwork, I'm like, I know good and damn well they didn't mean to send me this. This was stuff with my name on it and personal communications going on between these departments on how to stop me from telling the world what was going on in that city, in that town, whatever. So I was a problem. And had I had hindsight, 2020's hindsight, a lot of people are thinking at this time frame, how I'm going to take care of my family if I'm caught up in this mess. So before I even find out, the judges called me from vacation to come to the courthouse. I don't even know why I'm being told or I have to come to court, but I'll get told I have to come to court. This is after I start reporting this information out to the public. So basically they were taking grant money and doing things contrary to law, basically fraud, in other words. So I started thinking back, I'm like, wow, I did a lot of shit. But anyway, so he just gives me a call and he says, I need for you to come in. So I get to court. I'm in Maryland. And I'm like, I gotta go. I don't know what's going on or whatever. So he's like, Mr. Rutledge, I have every reason to believe that you are engaged in an unauthorized practice of law. I'm like, this is the first I'm hearing about this shit. You know, I'm like, I know I can take it to Conway Kansas and basically letting them know what laws they've been breaking, you know, what's the problem is. I guess it was a real big problem for this judge or whatever, and I would later on find out the judge was tied to a lot of them that was doing a lot of the corruption, stealing money, bogus arrests, what Trump is going through, basically. They was trying to do to me. That's why I can relate to what Trump's going through. You'll notice when the government goes after you for you speaking the truth, you'll see how the government responds. They'll tell you, they'll show you better than they'll tell you. That's the truth. A lot of shit y'all hearing from people ain't conspiracy theories. That's just the truth of what happened. So, get the court, he's like, I'm gonna bar you from filing any cases or whatever. I believe you helping this young man named Alvin Sutherland. I'm gonna tell y'all, look into the history of the cases he had stacked against the Danville Police Department. Cases stacked against the Danville Commonwealth Attorney. Cases stacked against judges. He was representing himself. What was the problem was we was doing it without a lawyer, and two, what we was bringing up. I'm sorry, if I have a friend, most of your friends gonna expect you to look after them. And sometimes you will cross the line. And whatever you do, well, we just hope nobody else makes us think of it. All it was nobody else making us think of it. Period. Because they was like, it not only stink, it stunk. And people was talking. it was real conversations going on at people's dinner tables. This is really going on out here. This is really happening. And they see a lot of their friends on that list of people who I'm talking about. Because no matter who you are, people in your neighborhood love you. And when you're older, it doesn't matter if you're black or white. People know, yeah, you may have done some messed up things, but I just want somebody not to be able to take care of them. Does the bad outweigh the good? It's always that kind of conversation. At that time frame, they're worried about food being taken off the table. But one thing I did was about them. Not everybody was as corrupt as they claimed. There was a lot of people who was doing the same shit because they were being ordered to. And they were worried about the same dinner table issues just like anybody else. It's about the fact of making sure people still have a conscience. During the time frame, they're being told more and more to ignore and don't have one. Whatever happens, just happens. Not to have feelings. Reserve your energy because your energy is needed elsewhere. Realistically, those felonies can still be prosecuted at any time frame in Virginia. Any governor can step up and sign off on it. The FBI will tell you, what I'm telling you is the truth. They're going to say, yeah, he did his thing. But the thing is, when the powers to be are in power, the only ones who have to follow the law is us, the people. Those politicians don't. Even in Virginia, a lot of people don't know if, like Louise Lucas and the rest, you saw they broke the law and they got paid $300,000 for getting arrested. Do you see how weird that is? Do you see yourself getting $300,000 for getting arrested for committing a crime, but only because you're a politician is the reason why you don't have to deal with the consequences? But everybody else, they got to. It's the hypocrisy of things. And that's why I even looked at Hunter Biden's situation and all that. Hypocrisy of things. We are seeing what the real elites look like. They're going after Trump because he's showing you what the real swamp looks like. It's easier to see them now because now he got the finger pointed at him and he got our attention. We can't wait to vote for Trump. Just like I want people can't wait to vote for me. And they're gonna say, why? He's real. He's real. That was the other side of the story. The whole barment was about making sure that the true story never got out there. You discredit someone even though you have no grounds for it. And that's exactly what the judge did. He had no grounds for it. Then one day, about a couple of years afterwards, I wanted to go back and relive history. So I go to the federal courthouse. I'm looking for something else. Son just tells me, pull the paperwork on your case. And I'm looking through the paperwork. I see some of the notes. There's no evidence there to support I'm helping anybody practice law. There's nothing there. It's just his order. And I see a piece of paper. On the piece of paper, it's instructing from the judge to tell the news to be at this hearing that he's having with me. So he already had his decision. He already knew he wanted to make sure this went public because he had to contact the news. The news normally follows people. And something that big or important, they either would have followed it, but the news in that area did not write articles positive of people like me. But they allowed me to fight back, though. That's one of the things. You could look at a lot of those articles, the letters to the editor, and vice versa. Yeah, I had my fair chance to get my side of the story out there. And people was feeling it. They're like, this is a bad boy going up against the government. Yeah. It's a real, true American story. So when somebody asks you about that, tell them, I need for you to listen to something. And when I see what Trump is going through, yo, I remember that judge using all types of immunity for regular, ordinary Joes in public office. And you see all of a sudden none of these immunities work, but these judges still got absolute immunity. Prosecutors still got absolute immunity. They're telling you these are the kings of the society. Meaning the judges are trying to be the dictators. No more separation of branches. All they gotta do is rule both branches incompetent to serve. The biggest military coup you can have here in America is with the judges. That's what's happening in this Trump case. This is my common sense. This is my gut. He's having the fight of his life for everybody's civil rights. The right to choose your leaders. The right to decide that your voice matters to what this world becomes. Now, they're not getting America to hate Trump. They having America love him. We saw their bullshit for the last 3 years. I've seen what Trump is going through for decades. One thing in common, we both still fighting, no matter how many times we won, and no matter how many times we lost. So, you understand how serious I take being the governor of Virginia. How serious I take law and order not being politicized. How serious I take Virginians who have blood, sweat, and tears, paid taxes here, have done everything that Virginia expected of me. Virginia is waiting to have that favor returned back. Yeah. Because stories like that, I just told you, when it happened, wouldn't be able to be mentioned if it didn't happen in Virginia. Wouldn't be known unless the papers wrote about it in some kind of way. Sometimes you don't get the papers to write your side of the story. Sometimes they're told what to do. And they all humans. I don't care how tough you are. The right person can scare you. And in that area, I was fighting governors. And they could tell you, I didn't hide from nobody. And I didn't have to force my way to earn my keep. And when relationships was being rebuilt between all sides, we all remember how much it took out of us in these fights. We're just choosing not to let it happen or continue. We had to put a stop to it. And that's what I'm trying to say with Biden and Harris. We got to put a stop to it. We can't keep fighting each other on this one. We all hurting. We all know what's being reported. It's not the true story. We know that they are basically going after whoever says anything against them. If they can censor one side, they can censor yours. Whatever you can do to another, you can do the same to them. All I'm saying, people, what's happening now? They doing it to half of America. How many of y'all are not ready to let them get the other half, but take the half that they took back from you? That's exactly why you should vote for Merle Rutledge for Virginia Governor 2025, representing you, a true American story.